And this morning we reached to Bangalore and say hello to Prabhat Verma, who's the Executive Vice President Operations for the Indian Hotel Company. Hello, Prabhat. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Nils. Lovely to interact with you on this new dimensions of interaction. Great.
Yep. As I was saying in the warm-up, I hope that we'll manage to shake hands one day and share a beverage of choice, whatever that one might be. You're in Bangalore and the Indian Hotel Company. Who's the Indian Hotel Company, for those who don't know?
You know, this is a 117-year-old company, one of the oldest companies of the very large group called the Tata Group. It was always registered as an Indian hotel company, but was known and still known as Taj Group of Hotels. But Taj is one of the brands of the Indian Hotel Company, and it's the most luxurious and the preferred brand as Taj. While we also have an upscale brand called Vivanta, and we have a very unique brand called Selections that we have recently launched, which is, you know, it's a hotel of its own identity as together it's called as a selection, and each selection can be unique as such. We also have a mid-scale brand called Ginger, which we have relaunched. And we also deal with airline catering called Taj Sats, where nearly 60% of the airline catering in India is managed by Taj Sats.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Now, how many hotels do you have in the group?
We have a 200 hotels now in the group, and we're not counting the newest of the brand that we recently launched called the Amma Homestays and Trails, which has 15 of these homestays, a domestic brand, which has potential to grow much more, especially now that we have this word called COVID-19, where people like to have their own little bungalows and villas. I think that's another business that will sharpen the game. But it always was an interesting element of how India can be discovered, and the hill stations and those places around and beaches. They have some lovely bungalows, architecturally beautiful. So that's another brand that we recently launched.
And which ones, or how many are open? How many hotels are open out of those 200?
Now, so nearly about 30 of our hotels are operating now in the brands of Taj and Vivantas, and at least about 15 under Ginger is also operating. While we supported the government and the community during this crisis by raising our hand to say that we will be part of this exercise to look after people. So some of the hotels were offered to the medics at a very, very subsidized rate as part of our community health. And also for quarantined patients, as well as people traveling from outside coming back. So most of the hotels are at this moment involved with these set of segments.
Okay, well, that's great. At least there's some activity. And as I chatted to Thomas Wilms last week, or this week, I think it was, where we were talking about, you know, we're hospitality people. We want to have the buzz. We want to serve. We want to have the interaction. And at least, you know, you have that then with those properties, which is great. Now, which interventions...
I just wanted to interject there, because the point that you said, the hospitality spirit, you know, at the end of the day, we sell happiness and we want people to have a smile back, and we will rush in and get the business started.
Absolutely. Talk about business started. That I think is a good point. The operation restart, as I think my colleague or many other people call it. What will that look like? I don't know. India is, I think, in large parts is open, but there are also some parts which are still locked down. And now you're having the majority of your properties in India. Do you have a specific a restart program for India versus the international units, or how will you do it? Or is that a group-wide strategy that you run?
No, so it's quite, I think everyone is doing the same. Wherever you are, you have to follow the rules and the norms of that country, that city, and that state. And unfortunately, the barriers of movement have been created because of this pandemic. And we'll have to adhere to those norms, because life is important for everyone in the initial stages, and we realize that. So those, after nearly 7-8 weeks of this lockdown in India, few of the states where the pandemic is much better controlled or hasn't taken a shape of getting into a larger problem, they're opening up. So the state where I am, where Bangalore city is called Karnataka, and Karnataka has just about 1,400 cases of COVID at the moment, and majority of them are getting better and quicker out of the woods. So this state has opened up between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the evening. Shops are open, not the malls. Schools and colleges and hotels are closed. But hotels which are taking quarantine guests are allowed. If there is an event in the family in terms of a wedding, they have just now opened it for 50 people only, and with certain restrictions further with all the PPE equipments and masks and what have you. But this is one state. A state in Maharashtra where Mumbai has had some major problems. So that's still under lockdown. Not many places have opened up. Delhi is trying to open up in a few places. Goa as a destination which is known to the whole world has very little as part of COVID problem. Only 34 cases so far. And they have controlled it very well. But if you open borders, obviously there's chances of this getting larger. But I think after 7-8 weeks, everybody's moving from saving life to saving livelihood. And people are beginning to use all measures possible and still trying to get the economy back on track. And that's where the stage where we are in at the moment.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the order of the day. And there's still some people who kind of push back and say, no, we need to keep locked down, but it simply does not work. As you say, it's now livelihoods versus lives, and it's never the right thing to make that decision. Nobody wants to do that. But at the end of the day, I think reality bites and reality kicks in when you have to say you have to make sure that you somehow learn to live in the situation and so forth. Now, on the track of reopening, India has been for the last few years advertising vastly overseas, incredible India. I think now you are almost lucky or can consider yourself lucky that your domestic market is still very, very strong. I believe it's over 80% that you're looking at domestic market in most regions. Is that the case?
That's true. 80% in the last at least 5 years, the dependency and how India as an economy has moved up. There's a huge domestic consumption that has happened, and also the affluency has come up in the community and in the nation. So there's a lot of people who travel abroad. There's a lot of people who travel within now. And India being such a large, diverse kind of a country with everything that is possible as a destination is very much there, from the Himalayas to the Goa beaches to the temple cities and 5,000 years of history and architecture. So all of that is there. Plus big cities have developed, which are centers of BPO operations, global mindsets, and many people come here and work. So that part of corporate business is also within to a large extent. Yes, between the months of October to March, a larger share of international traffic does come in, both from a corporate, business requirement, and because the weather is of the best kind during those months, there's international leisure movement that happens. Yes, if that is curtailed, is fine, but as it is, the projections that we are making is to an extent of, we do in a financial cycle April to March. So first 2 quarters obviously is going to be very, very difficult. There's hardly anything in the first quarter. We are hoping that we'll do about 15% of last year's business in the first quarter, about 30% in the second quarter. But we are quite bullish to say 50 to 80% in the third and the fourth quarter.
Right.
And this is, I'm quite sure, because I'm seeing those shoots of green happening where people as human beings are going to take charge of life. I think COVID will stay. We will find answers. And once the world is seeing, and different world is trying different techniques and methods to fight this. And there's learning from all across the world. And the anxiety and the frustration and the fatigue is now going to be broken. Yes, you'll have to take all precaution, be compassionate, be empathetic to the situation, but find ways and means, because a crisis will also teach you different ways, and also find areas that you are lacking, which is now revealed. Maybe the Indian ways of operating with a manning level of so many numbers, the cost optimization and trying to work in a different manner will come into as a reality, and we'll have to cope with it and find answers.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I can't believe it. We already chatted for so long. A silver lining, Prabhat. What would you say if you had to or what would you wish that you can say in, let's say, a year's time, looking back and saying, oh, well, you know, it was good for whatever? What would that be?
You know, so one line I want to use, because I've been reading that, one is absorb the fear, execute the work that is there in your hand, and inspire the change. And what your question is, the inspiration of changing with the time. And this time, people are saying, look inwards a little bit more. There's enough and more insight, whether global footprint and carbon footprint and ozone layer depletion, all of that is suddenly come into being to see life also has different meaning. We will find the answers. You know, as you alluded before this chat of ours, that something like takeaway business was always considered not the domain of the hotel companies. But today, in this crisis, this has become a mainstay for us to deliver food, to deliver laundry, to deliver gourmet food from our inventories that's reaching out. And we could have a very different approach. We've created a company, e-commerce app platform based for food delivery from nowhere in this last 7 weeks, just sitting with some companies of the Tata Group together, and we are launching it in next 10 days. So crisis will teach you many more things. I think optimization of manning levels is another area that we'll fight through. And this is a question, as you said, in 1 year's time, you reflect back that there was a reset button, you resetted it, you saw tomorrow is a different world. After 9/11, everybody said, no one's going to take a plane. It's the same. Our housekeeping will become the new security. Maybe it was required for the world to take a look. We as hoteliers, we're always following those norms. So it's not a big change for us. But I think to demonstrate that is what we will do, and let the others also pick up the train.
Prabhat, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I sent kind regards to Bangalore, and I really look forward to meeting you face to face in the very near future. All the very best to you and your company, and have a fantastic day. Thank you.
Soon enough, I may come over to Cape Town. We have a beautiful hotel, Taj Hotel there, with a Bombay Brasserie meal. We will have a meal together there.
I look forward to that. Thank you, Prabhat.
Thank you.